Morning, just a sound check for everybody joining. Can check whether your volume is up, and we'll be with you guys in 3 minutes' time. Thank you very much for joining.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the session today. For the recording's sake, today is the 13th of November, 2025, and the theme for today is public transport, today's challenges and opportunities. Welcome to the session. We're still admitting people into the event, but let's start a little bit housekeeping. As you know, please keep yourselves on mute. We're running this in a meeting fashion, not in a webinar fashion function. In other words, you can ask questions and participate in the discussions, but we're going to encourage questions only at the end of the event during the panel discussion. Otherwise, we're going to take too long to take questions each time after each presentation. So we'll appreciate, but you're welcome to make use of the chat room and to post comments there. Please keep the discussions related to the topic being discussed today. You're welcome to exchange contact details, network, and then also you can post questions for the panelists in the chat room as well. Most probably they will answer that, in the chat room before we even get to the panel discussion itself. So let me not waste more time. I think we're going to have an excellent event. We've got an excellent list of presenters today, and I just want to share my screen here so that we can get going. So there we are. Public transport, today's challenges and opportunities. Ladies and gents, you can see we're having learned presenters from different spheres of this industry today, and they're going to entertain us today with excellent presentations. I'm not going to read through the entire program. We've received that, but yeah, wide area of expertise, and we're looking forward to listening to our presenters. As you know, that the Transport Forum events are all complementary. So we do have excellent and valued associates and sponsors with the Transport Forum that's making this possible for us. And we'd like to give them some recognition. But we're going to have some fun, ladies and gents, because we're going to have a quiz. And you might be the lucky winner of one of these very nice Parker pens. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you some information on our associates and sponsors, and then we're going to ask questions. We're going to have 2 questions related, obviously, to our associates and sponsors. And the first person in the chat room answering the question right will be the winner. So we will then obtain that person's preferred delivery email or delivery address, and we will have the prize couriered to that person. So it's always great fun to see who can do this, sharply and quickly. So, ladies and gents, our main sponsors for this event and associates, you can see at the top there, we've got the professional industry bodies, and these bodies are a formal agreement with the Transport Forum and supporting us for many years. Professional bodies in the industry. Then you can see that second block there are the associates in terms of media houses supporting us. Obviously, many others involved as well, but these are on a formal agreement. And then at the bottom, we've got gold sponsors. And then we've got one platinum sponsor with the Transport Forum, which is C-Track. And so we're going to give them some recognition. Listen carefully, you might be the winner of the prize. So, ladies and gents, let's then start and let's have a look at the South African Association of Freight Forwarders.
What does it take to compete on the world stage? To go head-to-head with the best of the best? Excellence, agility, resilience, the willingness to keep on evolving. It takes courageous leadership to be bold and chart the course, to connect the dots, bringing stakeholders together, to overcome the hurdles we all face, and to deliver best practice. It's about business at the click of a button, delivering at the speed of the internet, connecting people, products, and places, strengthening our supply chains, faster and more cost-effective than ever. Since 1921, we've given voice and vision to the freight forwarding industry, navigating the tides of international trade, evolving ever more sophisticated supply chains, bridging local and global markets to move our economy forward. Welcome to our world. The South African Association of Freight Forwarders, architects of transport for over a century.
Thank you so much, Saf. We also have the Multimodal Inland Port Association doing great works and revitalizing our inland ports and obviously reducing congestion at the marine ports and so on. So obviously all these associations and partners and sponsors, you can obtain the links on our Transport Forum's website and can read more about them. We also have the African Rail Industry Association for a preeminent body in South Africa representing players in the railway industry. We have the South African Express Parcel Association, SAPA, representing body and voice of the express delivery industry in South Africa. We've got SABOA, South African Bus Operators Association, they're the voice of the bus and coach industry. In other words, they represent the bus and coach industry in South Africa and played this role for many, many years. Thank you very much, Sabawa. We've got the Road Freight Association. They say without trucks, South Africa stops. The Safer Stops Association, uniting minds, sharing vision and resources, uplifting well-being, boosting road safety for South Africa's commercial drivers. International Women in Transport. These are our media houses that's deeply involved with the Transport Forum, giving us great exposure. And we're looking here at freight news and features for import and export decision makers. Many years, actually, since the inception of the Transport Forum, more than 18 years ago, already involved with the Transport Forum. And obviously, should you not been subscribed to these magazines, guys, you're missing out big time. So we encourage you to subscribe to these magazines. We've got the Railways Africa magazine. It's the specialist trade, technical business-to-business online publication covering all aspects of the rail sector. Focus on transport logistics, popular magazine. We've got engineering news from Crema Media. They usually send us a news update. This is a week or so ago. Let's have a look.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Engineering News and Mining Weekly magazine, published on Friday, 7 November 2025. In this week's cover article, Engineering News and Mining Weekly Senior Deputy Editor Online Madeleine Alnaldi focuses on risk mitigation as South Africa opens its rail and port networks to private participants. With state-owned freight logistics group Transnet having turned to the markets to invest in rail and port infrastructure, and the Department of Transport having introduced various reforms to allow for private sector participation in South Africa's logistics system, questions have arisen about the risks of such involvement, particularly regarding private companies' commitment to transformation. The Engineering News features focus on valves, where new valves improve supply and efficiency. Battery energy storage systems, where battery storage is key to powering Africa's renewables future. And bearings and bushes, where a partnership helps to meet increased demand. The Mining Weekly features focus on health, safety and security, where an uptake of life-saving armored solutions increases. This week's business leader is Wojciech Kulma, the MD of BASF South Africa. And in this week's cartoon, the world economy is on a roller coaster ride, yet the stock markets have floated above the fray, buoyed by optimism over the effect AI could have on productivity and innovation. We hope you enjoy this week's edition of Crema Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly. Be sure to subscribe to the magazine that offers you in-depth news about developments in the real economy by emailing subscriptions at cremamedia.co.za. Enjoy the read and see you next time.
And Engineering News. Ladies and gents, the Transport Forum's platinum sponsor is Ctrack. You can see it's a leading provider of innovative telematics solutions. Let's have a look at their great video.
Managing a fleet isn't just about tracking vehicles anymore. It's about intelligence, efficiency, and control. Still, who has the time to actually process all that information and make so many decisions? With multiple moving parts and a data overload, it's easy to miss what's important. Ctrack's Crystal platform puts you back in control with smart, AI-powered insights. You're not just keeping up, you're staying ahead of the competition by reacting faster and smarter. Whether you manage a handful of vehicles or thousands, Crystal scales with you. From new entrepreneurial ventures to established enterprises, Crystal grows and adapts with your fleet. Because no two fleets are the same, and different industries have different requirements, you can add additional business features as you need them. Like analytics, custom AI scripts, Electronic proof of delivery, routing, scheduling, and cameras. Our solution offers a strong core with modular optional plugins and AI that works for you. Because having the power to predict and staying ahead isn't just smart, it's a superpower.
Thank you, C-Track. Ladies and gents, and now the gold sponsor of Transport Forum is Control Fleet. Execute like never before.
At Control Fleet, innovation is at the heart of every decision we make. We execute like never before. Our features include planning, scheduling, driver application, and our value proposition is continuous value and execution for you. We love logistics and transport operations, our clients, and our aim is to provide them with new age technology, innovate their business, and take them to the future.
Thank you, Control Fleet. JC Auditors, certification, compliance, one solution.
Welcome to JC Auditors, your trusted partner in road freight certification solutions. At JCA, we offer a single integrated solution for road freight companies, enabling you to achieve all your compliance and certification requirements. Our focus on the South African National Standard, RTMS, ensures your fleet meets the high standards in safety, efficiency, and sustainability. Promoting vehicle safety and fostering safe driving behavior are keys to RTMS success. With a national presence of a growing footprint in the SADC regions, JCA is your local and regional expert in road transport compliance. Our certificates are SANAS accredited and IAF aligned, so rest assured that JC Auditors certifications are recognized globally. Our team of professional road transport experts brings unparalleled experience and dedication to every client, ensuring your company is always compliant. Having conducted over 10,000 audits in the last 15 years, JCA's expertise is proven, tried, and trusted across the industry. We proudly serve South Africa's leading road freight companies, along with a host of other forward-thinking and ambitious transporters, driving road transport excellence. Join the many satisfied clients who trust JC Auditors for their road freight certification needs, including RTMS, ISO 9001, and more. Visit us at www.jcauditors.com and drive your business forward with confidence.
Thank you, JC Auditors. Freeway Fleet Maintenance Software.
Freeway is a powerful digital system for managing fleets and assets, giving you real-time visibility and eliminating paperwork. At its core, Freeway handles maintenance, compliance, and procurement. From job scheduling to defect tracking, purchasing, and stock control, everything is managed from one connected platform. In the workshop, mobile devices replace paperwork. Engineers can request parts, check histories, and everything syncs instantly with our main system, so you know the status and cost of every vehicle, part, and service. Freeway connects seamlessly with your existing systems and supplier platforms, allowing data to flow freely. It's modular, scalable, and always ready for digital reporting needs. With a mobile app for remote management, a booking portal for external users, and built-in analytics to track true costs and performance. Freeway helps you save time, cut waste, and stay fully in control.
Thank you, Freeway. Another gold sponsor, ladies and gents, is Bidday Cargo.
In the world of express freight, there's one name that stands above the rest: Bidday Cargo. Our airport-to-airport line haul service is the backbone of South Africa's express freight industry. At Bidday Cargo, we don't just deliver cargo, we go the extra mile to ensure a seamless and efficient experience in South Africa. With our unwavering commitment to excellence and improved technology, We handle your cargo with utmost care and deliver it on time, every time. Our dedication to service excellence is what sets us apart. We live by our core values of service excellence, mutual respect, integrity, and accountability. When you choose Bid Air Cargo, you're choosing a partner that takes pride in going above and beyond for your freight needs. From pharmaceuticals to perishable goods, automotive parts to live animal transportation, we handle a diverse range of commodities. Our attention to detail and precision ensure that your cargo arrives in perfect condition, no matter what it is. Our dedicated teams work tirelessly to guarantee the safety and efficient transport of your cargo. We leave no stone unturned to ensure your freight arrives at its destination intact and on time. With our advanced track and trace system, you can monitor your shipments in real time. Stay informed about the whereabouts of your cargo with just a few clicks. Our goal is to provide you with peace of mind and complete transparency throughout the entire journey. We understand that time is of the essence for our valued customers. That's why we offer a user-friendly online portal that simplifies the documentation process. Obtain quotations and create e-labels with ease, saving you valuable time and effort. Whether you have a small package or a large shipment, Bid Air Cargo handles it all with equal care and precision. Our ISO certification is a testament to our commitment to quality and professionalism. We don't just excel in domestic express freight, we also cater to your international cargo needs. No matter the size of your business, whether you're a small enterprise or a multinational corporation, you can trust us to handle your cargo with the same level of dedication and attention to detail. Connect with us today and discover the difference our innovative technology, seamless tracking, and customer-orientated approach will make to your operation. Bid Air Cargo. Same-day express every day, overnight express every night.
Thank you, Bid Air Cargo. Ladies and gents, Unitrans Gold sponsor.
Africa and its people are going places, navigating new ways that move the vibrant continent forward. Unitrans puts them on the road to productivity, growth, and success, helping them get there safe and on time. We move millions of people across Africa, providing secure and innovative transport solutions that connect families and businesses, get learners to schools, students to universities, and employees to their places of work. We partner with independent operators, supporting and empowering them through advanced technology systems that enable their growth. Working with all industry stakeholders, we build the greater transport industry, expanding the essential network needed to move people safely. We are a trusted, innovative transport solution specialist with a purpose. Our belief in the power of doing accelerates economic progress across the continent and moves people towards their most prosperous future.
Thank you, Unitrans. Ladies and gents, Internet of Things Integration, very interesting organization. We come to University of Johannesburg. That's the Department of Transport and Supply Chain Management. Part of the Transport Forum also, for instance, Inception, playing a big role, also mentoring myself a lot, and they take out usually 4 events per annum. Thank you, UJ, for your great support. And we've got Kuba, Transforming Ticketing. Kuba is part with our ICM Mobility Group, which enables public and private transport to move into the digital era. Journey planning, smart ticketing, streamlining electronic payment, shaping the digital transformation of the mobility sector. They're also presenting this morning. Thank you very much, Kuba, for your gold sponsorship. Right, we've got Data Novel. Data Novel is where people do lots of research and can assist you in terms of the perception of your customer have of your organization, and also what other solutions you can provide to your customer. Very great and intensive research. Standard Bank, over 160 years of experience. They believe that dreams matter and that together they can make them a reality. Standard Bank, Kathy Bell and team, thank you very much for your great support from Standard Bank. For Global Trade Solution, you can see it's all about import and export systems, consulting and strategy, software solutions, and specialized services. Thank you very much, GTS. Got Zutari. Zutari is consulting engineers of note. You can see they say Impact Engineered. Co-sponsor also for many years with the Transport Forum. Got Easy Clear, software solutions for customs clearing, freight forwarding, and logistics providers, covering air, sea, road, and rail. Thank you very much, Easy Clear. We've got Ticket Pro, Smart Tab. Ladies and gents, the system includes key features like comprehensive route management, flexible passenger payment methods, flexible route and fare product setup, shift and dispatch management, cashier system inspection tools, and comprehensive management information system reports. Thank you very much, Ticket Pro Smart Tab. So ladies and gentlemen, those were our sponsors and associates. Let's give them a big hand for supporting the Transport Forum and making this great platform possible. So we're going to do a nice quiz now, and we're going to ask you some questions about our sponsors and associates. 2 questions actually, and the first person answering the question right in the chat room, that person will be the winner of the quiz, and we will have the prize, the pocket pen, courier to you. So get ready in the chat room, and let's see who answers the question right the first time. So here comes the first question. I'm asking the name of an association representing the bus and coach industry. Who are they? Since you guys are sharp, right? We've got Vusi Matabula. Vusi, congratulations. You're the first one. I'm just taking notes here. Congratulations, Vusi. That was very sharp and quick. Right, here comes the second question. This organization is a gold sponsor of the Transport Forum. They are transforming ticketing, and they're part of the ICM Mobility Group. They're enabling public and private transport to move into the digital era. Here it comes. Let me see the first one. The Thabo Nale. Yeah, Thabo, great work. Just taking a note here. So congratulations to our winners. That was well done. So we're definitely going to have your prizes couriered to you. Ladies and gents, just take note of our screen. Sourced as a BEE initiative to alter Mashilable and Bondlek consultant. You can take a note there of a number, take a picture. It's only 450 rands per year, and you can have your company listed in our business directory. Very popular. People telling us they're getting lots of hits on this directory. Yeah, all the presentations you see today and over the past 18 years was downloadable from that website, transportseek.com. If you want to download presentations, just make sure you've got an account with the Transport Forum. On that website, you'll see to the left of the screen, there's a user menu where you can log in. Should you not have your credentials yet, you can create your own credentials by clicking on sign up, and all complimentary, and you can sign in to download presentations. You'll go to events, select download, and you get this little search engine. You can see the top field there. You can type in any topic or surname of the person or whatever, and hit search, and it will give you all the related presentations. In other words, what happens is it says searches through more than 900 presentations presented over this 18 years and give you the results. Or you can go to category, select the date of the event, and it's the search, and you get all the information you need. Very, very powerful. All right, ladies and gents, this now brings us to the program. public transport, today's challenges and opportunities. And I would like to hand you over to Mr. Suren Gowanda. He's Business Development Manager at Kuba, and he's going to give us a public transport environment in perspective. Thank you very much, Suren.
Thanks, Harry. Just give me a second to just quickly set up my screen.
All good. Thank you, Suren.
Excellent. Just give me a second. Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Suren Gowanda. I'm the Business Development Manager at Kuba. And today gives me great pleasure in speaking to you about the public transport environment in perspective. And for discussion purposes, the environment we're talking about today is the South African environment. So a few weeks ago, I met Harry at another conference, and we got into discussions about the public transport environment and looking at what we as South Africans have done for transport over the last year, for example. We've attended many conferences, we've heard many things about transport, many challenges, and we also wanted to put in perspective, where do we as South Africans stand in terms of transport? What is the current environment? And what do we need to do to continue to move forward in a positive way? And one of the things we need to do is understand our current environment and address the root causes of some of these challenges that we're facing in order to charter a better way forward for a safe, affordable, and reliable public transport system. So when we looked at and when we were discussing these things or discussing public transport, understanding these challenges was one of the things. Understanding the restrictions in which we need to work in to achieve the results that we're looking for was also something that we've discussed and something that I'd like to discuss with you today. Today, I think a lot of us already understand what the transport industry is and what the public transport sector looks like, some of the challenges we're facing. However, I'd like to focus a little bit more on the way forward and what we need to do to actually, improve going forward. We know that the public transport plays a vital role when it comes to enabling mobility for millions of commuters in South Africa. Public transport, there's a lot of lower and middle income people or middle income communities that rely on public transport systems to get them to work, to get them to hospitals, to basically do their daily travel. Our public transport system is quite diverse, meaning we have different modes of public transport. However, we're constantly plagued with some challenges that lead us to inefficiencies, that lead us to safety and security issues, and also poses poor infrastructural challenges. So when we look at the public transport sector in South Africa, firstly, we've got different modes of transport. And when it comes to transport, I think minibus taxis carries about the most number of commuters per day, which is roughly about 65% of your passenger travel. The minibus taxis operate in an informal sector with limited regulation and standardization. Some of the strengths of the minibus taxis is that it's quite flexible, extensive coverage in the fact that it works in many different regions, many different areas, urban areas, rural areas, and it's also quite affordable. However, the taxis do have some challenges that are currently being looked at, which is safety concerns, poor maintenance of some of the vehicles. I think overloading is a big challenge, and also competition over some of the routes that actually leads into some violence or taxi wars. The other mode of transport is your buses. Your buses, you have different types of operators. You have your private operators, and you also have your municipal bus operators. Your private operators are your subsidized operators that receive a grant from the Department of Transport or receive your subsidies from the Department of Transport, whereas your municipal bus operators provide a service to the community, such as Metro Bus, Great North Transport, etc. In terms of the challenges faced by buses, it has limited coverage outside urban centers. and you're starting to see a slight decline in ridership, and some of them are also subsidy dependent. The strengths for the buses, of course, is the fact that they can have structured schedules and they can be used and put as part of your urban planning, which makes it a little more effective. One of the other modes of transport is your bus rapid transport systems. Your BRT systems came into effect roughly around about the 2010 timeframe. And in South Africa, we have 10 BRTs. Now, there are questions whether these 10 BRTs are the most effective. However, the aim of providing the BRTs was to provide an efficient, safe, and affordable urban transport system for the community. However, we're also seeing challenges in terms of the low ridership. We're seeing challenges in terms of the operational costs. And of course, there's integration issues with the informal systems that are out there. One of the historic backbones of urban transport was also your rail agencies, which is your passenger rail. Metro Rail at one stage was the heart and backbone of the major provinces. Unfortunately, over the years, we've seen vandalism, infrastructure decay, and low maintenance that actually plagued this sector. However, there are ongoing efforts to modernize this sector. Recently, at the end of October, the Minister of Transport, Barbara Creecy, unveiled a RFI process that was going to be initiated to work with the private sector, where government and the private sector work together to revitalize the PRASA rail agency. This is something that is positive, and we're seeing positive change there. Another passenger rail transport system is the Gautrain. Gautrain is predominantly in the Gauteng area, and it caters to middle to higher income commuters. One of the other modes of transport that we need to consider is the emerging modes of transport, such as your Uber, your Bolt, your e-hailing. In fact, in September, the National Land Transport Amendment Act formally recognized e-hailing as a public transport service. So these are the developing and emerging modes that are coming into effect. So one of the key things that we need to look at is what are the key challenges that is plaguing this industry? I mentioned infrastructure decay. So infrastructure decay is infrastructure that hasn't been maintained over a long period of time. We have that in rail, we have that in bus depots, we see that at bus stations, we see that at taxi ranks. And as a result, we see issues leading to safety, reliability. Also, one of the other challenges is safety and security. Now, we know for some reason South Africans are very slowly moving away from a cashless environment. Having cash as your main source of payment brings along several security risks in terms of robberies, in terms of hijackings and things like that. In terms of safety, you have high accident rates and lack of pedestrian infrastructure. And also these kind of things put commuters at risk. I think one of the other key challenges in transport is the fragmented governance, where you have overlapping responsibilities. Now, we know in South Africa, you have your national government, you have your provincial government, and you have your municipal government. Due to lack of coordination between these entities, we find that there is no right way of going forward. There's always different requirements that are being posed to the community. I'll discuss this a little more when it comes to what I believe the way forward should be. In terms of affordability and accessibility, transport costs is still a massive problem. Transport costs remain a significant portion of the household income, meaning households are still spending far too much on transport. We need to look at how do we make this more accessible to the lower and medium income people. And of course, there's the environmental impact. This is the dependence on fossil fuels and the vehicle contributing to pollution. So in order to understand what is going to be the way forward, we need to understand how do we map this way forward in South Africa, we have governance and policies and frameworks that we need to work within. And such frameworks is your National Land Transport Act, your National Development Plan. These are guidelines in which we need to work towards to achieve the objectives that we're looking for. We also need to bear in mind that municipalities have been tasked with developing integrated transport networks. And these transport networks are being mapped out and decided on by a lot of consultants that are working in conjunction with the municipalities. We have, fortunately, some people that will be talking about that today as well. Now, when it comes to the way forward, this is what I believe we should actually focus on. We talk about integrated transport systems. When it comes to integrated transport systems, I'm referring to the interoperability, the making it easy for a passenger to travel through the different modes of transport. Traveling from a bus to a train to a taxi needs to be much easier. Because of the fragmentation, you have a challenge in terms of passengers having it difficult to use a card to travel in a taxi, a different method of payment in a bus. We need to look at how do we overcome this problem. Firstly, there needs to be better ways of payment. There's EMV, there's account-based ticketing solutions that have been spoken about. We need to look at how we build this in so that we can adopt and implement such systems. We spoke about modernization of rail. I mentioned that at the moment there's processes in place, and the minister's statement in regards to modernizing rail. I believe this is key, not just for rail within provinces, but inter-provincial travel as well. Regulation and formalization of the taxi industry. My colleague will be speaking about that a bit later as well. But the taxi industry, in terms of regulation, it's something that we've been talking about for a long time. We need to look at how we can get route-based subsidies for them. We need to look at driver training and those kind of things that can actually assist them. Also, infrastructure investment. So infrastructure investment involves dedicated bus lanes, improving bus stations, improving taxi ranks, lighting, security, and also promoting a safe environment for commuters to feel safe to actually use public transport. One of the other things we need to also discuss is the use of technology. The age of technology is here. We talk about AI, we talk about a whole lot of information that you can get, and also using technology improves efficiencies. And we need to look at better fare collection systems or fare management systems. We need to look at fleet management. We have always been talking about driver behavior and making sure that road safety is adhered to. Fleet management systems can do that. And also technology to assist passengers, like mobile applications for passengers to load travel rights to their card, and also applications to advise passengers which is mode of transport they can choose, what time your next bus or train or taxi arrives. These are things that we can actually look at, or we should be looking at. Environmental sustainability, the promotion of electric buses, cleaner fuels. The good thing is we've already seen a lot of this already taking place. But my question to everybody here today is, are we doing this fast enough? I would like to see us doing a little more and doing it a little faster. In terms of policy and governance, I think this is where we need to also be clear on what we expect. When it comes to policy and government, we need to make sure that national, provincial, and municipalities have the same goals and the same objectives. When it comes to interoperability, having the same requirements is essential as well. There's certain things that we've been talking about for a long time, and it just lingers in there. So there is an elephant in the room that we need to address, which is SANRAL. We've spoken about SANRAL several times. It was promulgated, or it was mentioned a while back, and it was supposed to have been gazetted. However, there hasn't been any formal notification of it being gazetted. And we need to understand, because the impact of that it's huge. It leaves people assuming things. Also, when it comes to policy and governments, we need to look at, for example, subsidies. You look at scholar transport. You have 9 provinces in South Africa. Some provinces, scholar transport is funded by the Department of Education, and in the other provinces, it's Department of Transport. We need to look at how we can standardize things like this so that you have a formal way of addressing things and things fall in the right places. If it's transport, I believe it should fall under Department of Transport. Then the requirements for transport has the same safety, has the same type of mechanism in place to monitor the funding aspects of it as well. So in essence, during my discussion with Harry, one of the things we concluded was the South African public transport system is a complex system. And we need to understand that there's formal and informal networks that we need to bring together. And in order to do that, we're going to have to look at finding, structural, financial, and addressing all the governance issues. Sustainable progress requires integrated planning and modernization of infrastructure. And we need to look at how we make public transport affordable and safe for all the users that are out there. So in essence, colleagues, I think the key aspects I wanted to address today is public transport is key. The environment that we're currently working in has challenges. Unfortunately, we have frameworks and policies that we need to look at, and we need to fix what is wrong in order to go forward. I'm proud to say I can see that public transport issues are being addressed. However, it would be great to see things happen a little faster. So for me, colleagues, that's all. Harry, that's it from me. If there's any questions, so we'll take it during the period later.
Discussion. Thank you so much, Suren. Ladies and gents, what a great presentation. Suren, clearly you understand this industry and know what's going on. Thank you so much for talking to us. Poor people need to go to work, and safety and security issues is very, very important. Talking about the 10 BRTs in South Africa, and the key challenges and the way forward. Very nice, excellent presentation. Thank you so much, Suren. We're looking forward to engaging with you in the panel discussion. So, ladies and gents, let's have a look at our program again. So now we've got 2 presenters. It's Mr. Tommy Snyman, he's a business advisor, Toka Advisory Services, and Nicolene Wattle, she's a professional transportation planner, AC2. And they're going to talk about the opportunity to use technology to gather data and the value and opportunity to use this data to improve the public transport system, planning and forecasting. Thank you very much, Tommy and Nicolene.
Okay, do we start? Thank you, Harry. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this topic. And I think we are one of the group of people talking not about challenges, but the opportunities that we have in public transport. And when we look at the opportunities, we're going to first start off by saying, okay, but where do we get data from? Because for us, in Rustenburg, you can see that we're going to talk about the business case Yarona in Rustenburg. That's one of the BRTs Suren was talking about. We are looking at that, where do we get data from and how are we going forward? Next slide, Nicolene, please. So we're getting data from smart ticketing. We're getting data from the telemetry from vehicles, from the user feedback and the external data. There's different technologies that is being developed and been in use. And the value that we're getting is we're getting passenger flow information, fare collection information, trip data and patterns. We are looking at route efficiencies and schedule adherence monitoring, service quality, pain points, and then advanced planning improvements. Now, these are all these values that we are talking about here is sourced from data that we are getting in the project that we are running at Yarona. Next slide. So what we are looking at, and when I looked at public transport, at the traditional transport, there was the traditional fare collection, the wayfarer equipment, and a couple of other systems there was no intelligence on the vehicle tracking information. And we moved toward intelligent transport. When I worked for Huawei a few years ago, we were talking about fourth industrial revolution. And I didn't have the opportunity when I worked for Huawei, you can go to the next slide, Nicoline, to say, but how do we transform from the traditional transport to intelligent transport through the use of fourth industrial revolution? Luckily, I'm working with Nicoline on this project in Rustenburg, where we can use these components of fourth industrial revolution, and we touch roughly on 5IR as well, the human interaction, the commuter interaction in public transport. I can go to the next slide. And I'm rushing through my slides so that Nicoline have more time, because I see he's got all the data that we want to talk about. So Internet of Things, the connected sensors, devices on the vehicles, the artificial intelligence, predictive analysis, and automation. I think this is one area we still lacking a little bit on the project, which we need to do. Then high volume data sets for planning and forecasting. And this is the first time in my life where I'm working with a spreadsheet with more than 1 million lines. I need to find out that Excel can only handle 1 million lines. So it's big amount of data. Cloud computing, scalable platforms for data integration, cybersecurity, safeguarding transport data and systems, and then we're moving to intelligent systems, adaptive human-centric decision frameworks. So when we look at the next slide, we can see that what did we done? How did we implement the system in Rustenburg? We looked at vehicle tracking data. We are looking at the AFC data that we're getting from the system, and we have a centralized data and analytic platform. We integrated through a enterprise architecture more than one system, and we get data from there. Through that, we can optimize our routes and services, and we can get more data that help us. And I'm going to hand over to Nicoline now, which will take us through the business case that we want to present today. Nicoline.
Thank you, Tommy. I hope I'm audible now. Tommy put it very lightly on what we're actually doing. We're collecting a lot of data and then the integration of the data. The previous speaker actually highlighted the overarching and the detail and planning of systems, but I will dive right into more of the operational aspects of the data. I want to start with first, when we design the IPTNs, and I'm happy that there's a lot of people that's going to speak on that, because this is one of the IPTNs that's currently operational. And yes, there's a lot of comment, we're moving too slow and things like that, but it's not so easy actually to do that implementation and make it work and go faster. But where I want to start is when we start with IPTNs, we do pre-launch planning and we design routes. And always that routes are mostly based on estimations and surveys. And due to the cost of surveys, our sample size are usually very small, and we design to the best of our knowledge. We think we know what we're doing. And for that point in time, and I know all the modelers and planners like myself is going to really latch out to me and to say, yeah, but that's the best that we can do at that point in time. But with this implementation or using these two methodologies, we can really have actual data. It's maybe not real time, or it is real time, but your analysis and for your planning purposes, you do have that large sets of data and then your so-called revealed demand. And if you know where people travel, you can actually then design your system, refine your system or services in your system, and then optimize your routes. We know optimization or cost effectiveness linked to transporting people on each trip that you schedule in a system. So that is quite important. And this is where these two elements, if you have both your tracking data and your GPS AFC data, automated fare data connected and linked, and they talk to each other, then we can really start planning. I'm just going to focus on a few of the optimizations today, because there's a lot of different aspects that we use our data currently for. But what I will present is, I'm just going to show you some of the statistics for a month, a week, and a day, and then how did we use that data actually then to remove some of our not utilized trips, and then how did we do adjustments to some of our schedules. And just for noting, the commuter journeys can be analyzed. I'm not going to present that today, but that's quite interesting in our system, how you can see how people move with each step, and that integrated ticketing system would be nice if we have that across all different modes, from our scheduled and unscheduled. Then we can really design a optimized system and the integrated public transport system. But we know garbage in, garbage out in any of design or any of our data sets. Your data that you use to design or plan or optimize your system, it's not gonna work. So in our process and in the implementation of these two systems, that we checked on accuracy, completeness, and then trustworthiness of the data. And here on your right-hand side, I just shown a diagram, our vehicle tracking data. We get a route with some dots on it, your XY coordinates. It's uploaded at a 10-second rate for each vehicle in our system. Also, then our AFC data gives you an XY coordinate, and then the actual date and stamp from where that, if we call it like a tap happened, or it's either a tap on or a tap off. And in the AFC system, we also have then the ability to allocate a route to that specific. So that's quite nice in the validation of the data or the comparison of the data. So we went through some iterations to ensure that this data is trustworthy and that they are compared. And what I mean with that, we took the data from the tracking system and automated fare system. Does the data, if I say the vehicle traveled here on this time, AFC tap occurred on that time, was it then aligned? And through that iterations to a point that we actually stabilized our system, and with some adjustments to technology, we said, okay, we trust our data and we can use this data. Going forward, we must always remember that there need to be some validations and check. If you think your system is stable, you always have to check. The accuracy and the completeness also need to be there. There's also a bit of a human component in it. For example, the route numbers are selected by humans, the drivers, and our ICC personnel. So there is a piece that they use to get that data correct and complete, always need to be checked and validated. So we do that on a daily basis. And there, Tommy and his team is actually checking constantly what is the rate and what is the accuracy and the completeness. And they report then on a daily basis back if there's any issues, talk to the drivers. And so we have a nice and cleaned data set. I'm just going to run quickly over our output of our data, and data is not always pretty, so it might be a bit ugly, but let's go. So this is the area where we currently operate in. We have two phases. It's all urban, but we have a lot of routes, more than 21 routes currently operational. Just for the people that don't know Rustenburg, this is the CBD in the middle, and then we have the suburbs and the more densified suburbs and less densified suburbs here to the southern areas. Currently, what's operational, just to tell, to sketch the magnitude of the data and the vehicles that we track. Operational vehicles on a daily basis is 18, and then we have branded MBTs as we call them, taxis, but they are scheduled. In our fleet, we sit with 24 buses and 47 routes, 20. We have open stations, operational 4 of them, and then we have in the order of 215 stops where we stop throughout the day. Operational hours, there you can see it on the right-hand side, early in the morning till late in the evening, and then we run schedules between 15 and 20 minutes, and in our off-peak between 30 and 40 minutes. So that's just to give you a bit of an idea. This was in April 2025, where we had the number of passengers. Yeah, so it's not that quick and not that many, but we're getting there and we are operational. So how do we use our data? In 1C, what we get then on a daily basis is our total commuters, and I think this is kind of easy per route, and then it's validated. What's interesting is always you can have your trends, as you can see here, for each route, and here on the bottom line, we launched Route 5A in March this year, and you can see it was nice and flat, and there we go. What's interesting in this case is we always know our commuters start in the early days, they're not totally aware of our system, even if you do good marketing, but within 2 to 3 weeks, we always get a jump in our commuters and we track that and have the data. So that's very useful from a planning point of view and scheduling point of view. You can adapt as you go. Daily taps per peak hour vehicle. That's always a matrix that we have to report on in the IPTNs. And this is then, if we schedule 3 vehicles, we have that data and we can easily allocate it. And I think the other IPTN people that's in the group know they all one is newly launched that's running to a mall. Not getting there at the per day, so we halfway there, if I can call it. In some of the other areas in 1A, we do have that's expected of us.
Elaine, perhaps you can switch off your video. Seems to me we've lost her. The internet connection there is not too good. Let's just wait. She should join again. Just give us a few seconds.
Am I audible?
You're audible? Yes. Nicolene, you can hear you.
Just share your presentation, Nicolene. You can switch off your video maybe.
We can see our percentage seats that's occupied. And it's very interesting. Some of our routes are then bus operated routes, and some of them are branded MBTs operated. There we launch routes, so we can actually then track very nicely what's happening per route. And it's always about seats sold. So that's what we can track then from all of these graphs. If we dive in a bit more detail, this is then for one day that we analyzed, and we saw that this is a bus operated service or a route for this day, and this is our typical spread, as all the planners will know and the operational people will know. But it gives us the ability then to see for each trip where are our low demand routes, and as you can see there, within that one trip we transported 44, and that calls for the bus. The rest are really more closely to smaller vehicle operations. And that's how we use then our data to see where can we optimize, where we can take out, and where we can interlink routes, run the one route versus the other route, and then have more bumps on our seats, because that makes the bottom line work. Very interesting though, this route is running with branded MBTs, and here you can see we are nearly at capacity with this vehicle, but if you're gonna actually change it now to a bus, it's gonna drop, and that's always where we have to balance it. And if we have this data from one month to another month, we really have the opportunity then to compare month to month what's happening, and not only select one day or a spot analysis. You can really use that trends to replace a specific vehicle. This is just a quick example. In 2023, we operated mostly with branded MBTs in our 1A area. That was due to lack of vehicle availability or bus availability. The procurement went a bit slow. And here you can see this is percentage utilization per day. So it's not in a specific hour, and it's quite high. If you think you're running at 87%, that's including your off-peak periods. And this was run with branded MBTs. And we realized we need to introduce then a new mode, and we've done that. Very important, we didn't change our schedule. We said there's one vehicle that we can take out and then combine those. There was only a 5-minute difference between these. We introduced a bus on that specific route. And then, as you can see, we improved the customer experience in that sense. And then also, the problem is or not what usually they ask us, what's your utilization, how many seats or what percentage seats you sell now. The previous, if you do a taxi, you at 89%, and then you introduce your bus and whoops, there it goes down the utilization, and everybody goes, oh my goodness, what's wrong? But the potential then is to increase bit by bit and improve. In this diagram, the two highlighted areas, Route 16 and 11, is then operated by bus, and then the rest are operated by branded MBTs. But as we all know, there is a point that you need to introduce a bus. Just note, taking all of those branded MBTs are scheduled vehicles. They're not running as a normal vehicle. They're scheduled. It's just the size of the vehicle that varies and how we use them. But it also gives us a very good indication of at what point MBTs is not your optimum mode, and then what is the demand in a corridor where you can then successfully introduce your buses. But as you can see, Route 11, as soon as we introduce buses, some of our commuters immediately start using that routes more due to the bus introduction, which was also a very interesting switch to see between the two modes. Just quickly, we also used our data then to see what is the difference between school holidays, normal school days, and exam days. Interesting, in the exam days, we sat with always complaints about commuters, but we don't have vehicles. And we saw from the blue to the amber areas, my colors is a bit skewed here, sorry for that. The orange is actually exam days, that the peak shift from early in the morning to midday, 9, 10, 11, and we change our schedules then to accommodate that new exam kind of high peak. That was quite useful for us then, and we use that data, and then we can prepare different schedules, and you don't have to guess. If you have this as 1 or 2 days, we use this now in the March exam, and then in the July exam, as well as in November, and that trends were exactly the same. So that gives us the ability then to provide a better service to our commuters, and attract more passengers in that way. Last interesting, between the branded MBTs and our bus drivers, we track where there is actually taps and where the bus driver then allowed commuters to get on and off. You can see there are clusters here on the right-hand side. That is the pink is the bus drivers, and on the left are our branded MBTs. We really do struggle with that at this point in time. Our bus drivers are more prone because the bus can only stop at certain points, but our branded MBT drivers are kind of allowing commuters to ask them to stop at different areas, which is quite interesting. And then there's a constant improvement if you can talk to the driver and if you know where the issues are, which specific driver has these issues, you can implement mitigation actions. Okay, so what? I think most of this data are quite to the planners, whatever, but the real commuter demand and journeys, that gives us the ability to know where we need to implement, where we need to change. You're not really shooting in the dark, and if you implement the change, you can track what's the implication of that change within a week, 2 weeks. And having access to the data, it's not in a black box. And I think this might be a bit of a controversial statement, but in a lot of the systems, you do not have access to the data, and it's not clear what's happening to the data. With this approach in marrying the two systems with the integrated platform, you know exactly what you see is what you get, and it's not just a report that you get in the end of the day. So this helps us to get, it's not a perfect solution, but at least it put little light into the black box of a lot of other systems that's out there, and we can use the information quite nicely to change our schedules. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you very much, Harry.
Thank you so much, Nicolina and Tommy, for a great presentation. Surely smart mobility in action, and that's what you guys are doing, and mobilizing and monitoring and improving and optimizing. I see performance routes and community journeys. And I like the expression you used, light in the black box. So the tunnel changed to a black box, but that's a great one. Thank you very much, Nicolina and Tommy. Really appreciate sharing your knowledge with us. So we will definitely engage with you during the panel discussion. I can see already getting hands up. So great stuff. Thank you so much. Right, ladies and gents, let's have a look at our program quickly. So we're going to have a short comfort break of 10 minutes. And after that, we will have Rebecca Fowler from Santaco presenting to us. And thereafter, we see the Matilda. So great 2 presentations still ahead. And go and grab a cup of coffee. We see you guys in 10 minutes time. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you. I'm on mute. Thank you. Ladies and gents, there's our program then. Let's continue. Thank you for hanging in there. I can't get hold of Rebecca. I don't know. Rebecca, you perhaps online and I don't see your name. Missing your name somehow. We're running a bit early on the program. So she might still join. She did participate in a dry run of this event. So she's definitely going to partake. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Vuyisile Majola to present, and then obviously when Rebecca joins, then she can present after Vuji. So our next presenter then will be Vuyisile Majola. She's the head of Integrated Public Transport, Citycon Africa, and she's going to talk to us about integration is to innovation, rethinking public transport for a connected South Africa. Thank you very much, Vuji.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you very much, Harry. It's good to be back again at the Transport Forum. I just want to check if everybody can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Just slide view, please, and if you maybe can switch on your video.
Thank you very much. I think for bandwidth, I'm going to, at some point, switch off my video if I have challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vuji. All good?
We're all good.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, colleagues, again. My name is Vuyisile Majola. My screen doesn't seem to be moving. Just a moment. If I can just go back. Oh, yes. My name is Vuyisile Majola. I am the head of Integrated Transport Networks and Planning at Citycon Africa. Citycon Africa is a specialized project development, preparation and management advisory consultancy. And our focus is primarily in African cities. You can see some of our work there. In sub-Saharan Africa and some of the countries where we have presence. Our work is diverse. We work with both the private and the public sector. As you can see, there's just some of the clients that we have. However, we also spread our wings to academia because we think that there should be a collaboration between what we theorize and what we have in practice. Colleagues, today I was quite excited when Harry asked me to present today because at the heart of what I do is ensuring that public transportation or transport in South Africa is not just modal, but it speaks to mobility, and it's about ensuring that communities have the dignity and access to opportunity, much like in our counterparts across the world. What I am going to talk about today is how we can ensure that government alliance, private operators alliance, as well as communities, when we unlock a public transport system that is integrated and future ready. I am going to take us through what the current reality looks like. Suren has already done a splendid job in showing us a bird's eye view of what public transportation looks like. We are going to have a look at what integration looks like. And Tomi and Nicolene have already set the tone with regards to what innovative technologies can do to assist us in ensuring that public transport is integrated. We're going to look at what the future looks like at its most granular. We're going to applaud what is currently happening and have a look at how do we overcome barriers for us looking forward. Looking at the current reality, ladies and gentlemen, the there's a lot of inefficiencies, duplication, and there's long travel times. To Suren's point, the minibus taxi remains the backbone of public transportation, but operates largely informally. Now, when we say it operates largely informally, we need to acknowledge that the taxi industry straddles between both the formal and the informal economy. We have municipal buses and we have BRTs, and these multiple systems compete instead of connecting. We have rail, which has mass capacity, but its trust has been eroded over the years due to vandalization, mismanagement, etc. And then at the back of everything, and which is quite unacceptable in all transport planning, is the fact that the commuter is the one who bears the brunt. They mix modes, routes, and payments, and often at their own risk and cost, with some commuters spending over 60% of their income to commute to work on a daily basis. Colleagues, we have to agree that the system is not broken. It is disconnected. And we don't need to add new modes to the system. What we need is to connect what already exists. We need to integrate the systems that have received a lot of investment from government. We need colleagues like Tommy Nicolene to assist us in using the data that is being collected to connect these systems. And at the end of everything, we need to ensure that the communities involved in the planning of public transportation. What does this integration look like? It's not a concept, it's a design choice that planners, government, and operators need to adopt. We need to move from planning in silos. We need to ensure that the network is connected from first mile to the last mile. The blueprint for integration is extremely simple, yet it becomes complicated when we have to navigate the different players in all transport networks. And what we want to achieve is a public transport system that connects people and assists them in having access to opportunities and make sure that the economy gains momentum. The blueprint starts with integrated planning, from transport to housing, economic zoning, to do the planning in silos. Operations need to be integrated. Almost need to be able to connect from e-hailing to taxi to bus to rail, and not compete, because when they compete, it's the commuter that suffers. It's the network that becomes fragmented. Integrated ticketing, is already there. It's been over a decade now that we've been talking about one card, one app, one fare structure, when people can enjoy access to subsidy, especially the ones who are living below the poverty line. Data needs to be integrated. There are extremely brilliant pockets of data collection that is happening. However, again, it's happening in silos, and there is no sharing of data between the planning entities and the operators. How does this impact integration? There are shorter travel times for the commuter, who needs to benefit the most. They can actually plan and lower the cost of travel. There is reduced congestion and emissions on the road. If there is an efficient public transport system, people get convinced not to use their private vehicles. There is greater passenger safety because the use of technology and tracking systems can enable commuters to be able to preempt their journey planning. And obviously, mobility is about access to opportunity and education, and it should be inclusive to ensure that the urban or even rural or peri-urban travel experience for commuters is easy. Transport, colleagues, is the engine of the economy, literally and socially as well. What does the future look like? I like scenarios. You leave your home in Soweto to your job in Midrand. You look at the app on your phone. It shows you your arrival times. You walk 3 minutes to a safe marked taxi stop. Your fare is already covered because you've already added your fare into the wallet that is in the app. Your subsidy is also included in that app. You transfer into rail or BRT when you get into the Johannesburg CBD without paying twice. You finish at the Midrand Gautrain station with a reliable last mile service, be it an e-hailing service or even a taxi service, and you've cut down your journey travel time by about 40 minutes. This, ladies and gentlemen, reduces your travel time to 40 minutes, not 2 hours, not 3 taxis. And there is reduced uncertainty for commuters. It's not science fiction. It's design. We have all the tools. They're there. All we need is cooperation and integration. The current momentum, because everyone is working in silos, it looks like there isn't much that is happening. But what we need to do is to start really aligning what already exists. Digitization. There is data on taxi routes that has been collected already. At city level, mobility as a service is already being piloted in Cape Town and even within the city of Johannesburg, regardless of how small those pilots are. There are data sharing frameworks that exist. They are just not being utilized. Private fintech companies have been working over time for the past 2 decades in creating fare systems that can plug into the South African context. Formalization of informal public transport is underway. There are many programs that DBSA, National Treasury, as well as the cities are working on in ensuring that the minibus taxi industry is sufficiently formalized to be able to participate. There is significant growth of bus operating companies and other entities to improve the integration and participation of the minibus taxi industry in the larger public transport network. There's also been some efforts in ensuring that there is improved management and accountability within these BOCs. Government has been working very hard at ensuring that the fragmentation that existed between national, provincial, and local level or city level planning is minimized. There is strengthened collaboration with many programs that they have aligned, and this also speaks to how they are starting to now pool investment into making sure that public transport investment is streamlined. There is co-creation with operators to shape service standards across the network design. We are seeing the shift from fragmentation to collaboration, albeit small, but it is there. How do we overcome barriers? We need a private sector that collaborates and not just competes. I always say that the minibus taxi industry is not public transport, it's private transport. And we do need the minibus taxi as a private sector player at the table as co-architects, and not just as problems that need to be solved for them to get involved in the public transport network planning. Communities need to be engaged as partners and not just as passengers when we assume a developmental approach towards transport and urban planning. We do need to understand what are the pain points of the communities that we're building these solutions for. And we need a government that coordinates and not just regulates. Colleagues, I think throughout the presentations that we have heard today, innovation is the new integration, or integration is the new innovation, and the tools are already there. It needs to be digitally enabled, it needs to be community rooted, and it needs to be economically inclusive in a tangible way. We cannot, colleagues, continue to copy and paste from the global north. Our transport needs in Africa, and specifically in South Africa, are unique to our context. We continue, colleagues, with this conversation about building sustainable and informed spatial transformation at a gathering that we are having in May next year. And I really would like colleagues to contribute to the conversation around how do we reimagine public transportation or mobility at large in May in Rosebank in 2026 at the Urban Mobility Summit. Harry, that was all from me. It was short and tight. I will wait for the panel discussion. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ruji. Short but powerful and well-informed lady. Thank you very much. And you know, you've played a substantial role in the industry in public transport already in the past, and we're learning a lot from you. Thank you so much, Fuji. Yes, she said she was going to wait for the panel discussion, which is going to take place now. I'm just trying to share here. Ladies and gents, I received a message just now from Rebecca from Santaka. Unfortunately, she had a health setback this morning. She even sent me a doctor's note apologizing that she can't present, and she's promising that she will present soonest at the next event. So our apologies then for Rebecca not being able to present this morning. So we're going to move over to the panel discussion now. In the panel discussion now, this is going to work. I'm going to ask all our panelists to kindly switch on your videos and unmute yourself so that you move up in the list here on Zoom so that I can do a spotlight for you. And then you can now ask questions to the panelists. Before you ask the question, you obviously identify yourself. What you can do is you can raise your hand in Zoom so that we can recognize you. And so once I've recognized you, then you can ask your question. You can direct the question to any member of the panel, or you can direct it to the panel as a whole. So I'm just adding you the panelists here to the panel. Buji, can you switch on your video, please?
My video is switched on, Harry.
Okay, Buji, let me just find you here on the list. Here we go. Here we've got our panelists. Yeah, got Ren, Tommy, Nicolene. So let's get to bring in Nicolene for us. There we go. Right, ladies and gents, you can raise your hand. We will recognize you. You can ask the question to a member of the panel or panel as a whole, and or you can unmute yourself, and then I can recognize you when I see you being unmuted, and you can ask your question. So let's throw the floor open. You're welcome to ask questions. So while we're waiting for these guys, let me throw something into the box here, the black box. And that is, what do you guys see is the biggest challenge for public transport in South Africa? The one biggest challenge, so we can make leapfrog into integrated, successful, sustainable public transport. How's that for a difficult question? Let's start with any panelist.
Yeah, I think most important is about, and I think it came through all the presentations, it's about integration.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of...
Oops, we lost Tommy. Just wait, he will obviously join. There's Tommy again. Tommy, we have you back again?
Yeah, no, see this technology.
Yep.
So I think most important challenge that we have is that every service provider tries to have a silo of his own technology and not talking to the industry to see, but how can we work? A good example is, for instance, account-based ticketing. If account-based ticketing is working correctly, we will not have those challenges of having several cards. We implemented account-based ticketing successfully in Rustenburg. And I think the value that we're getting from there and moving now to bring your own ticket, we are going to the next level of making sure that EMV with account-based ticketing, helping our commuter to make sure that the commuter can use any payment mechanism to travel. And that is helping. So integration becomes a critical for transport system in totality.
Thank you, Tommy. Anybody else on the panel? All in
Yeah.
agreement?
Sorry, I'm still trying to figure out to which icon actually raises the hand. So, yeah, I agree, Tommy. You know, in terms of account-based ticketing is not a new concept. It's been deployed globally. The technology is out there. The will to work together, government, regulation and frameworks, these are the things that we need to look at. And, you know, I touched on some of these things when I spoke as well. You know, the will of having all these kind of things is important, working these things together. For example, you've mentioned, you know, Rustenburg and the project that you're working in Rustenburg, which is great. You know, there's other provinces as well. Now, National Department spoke about SANRAL. Hasn't been gazetted yet you've got some areas that require SANRAL. You've got other projects that mention it, but it's not a requirement. And SANRAL, you know, is Cyprus the way to go? These are the questions we also need to put out there. Interoperability, without a doubt. When we talk about interoperability, it's not about us sitting in this panel. I always say that. It's about the people and community out there that we're serving. We need to make their lives easier. Those days of standing in queues and paying for, mobile tickets and loading tickets, those days are gone. Technology has taken over. But I must say, from your presentations, you could also see how technology can actually help in mapping the way forward. The presentations we saw today shows you what technology can do. And like we said, it's about working together, taking all this information, sitting together and say, okay, guys, how do we all benefit from this? I think the silo effect, without sounding very vague, the silo effect is based on, what? It's all for me or it's all for you. We're working together as guys, let's sit down and look at how everybody can benefit from actually going forward.
Actually, what I think a big cause of the separation in the industry is that question, who owns the float? And I think that's the big challenge. What's your perception on that, especially when we start thinking about EMV compliance and clearinghouse and this type of stuff? Are we getting somewhere? I see Nicolina smiling. She's thinking about something here.
So when it comes to EMV, Harry, I think EMV is something that is there. We have to embrace EMV. It gives, the commuter much more, should I call it, leeway in terms of payments. EMV is here. We need to make sure that EMV, we EMV compliant. So, when it comes to all these things we talk about, it still baffles me. I understand that we have many rural communities in South Africa, but we should not be using 60% cash in South Africa. We are the leaders in this industry in terms of what we know. We need to use our knowledge and try and educate operators and educate commuters and help move them away from cash. If we carry on putting in systems that cater for cash, people will carry on using it. We need to look at how do we come up and create that training, create that education, create that knowledge for the industry, for the commuters. And I'm assure you, once they see the benefit, they'll really appreciate what we do for them. The other thing that baffles me, I was traveling last week to my colleagues in city of Windhoek. And at the end of the month, I was at a mall. And it's quite strange that at the end of the month, the queue at an ATM, it's like 50 to 60 people going to get cash to do things. And a lot of them are getting cash to take a taxi or a cab or something back home. It's like going to an ATM, standing in a queue, drawing cash to go and pay for public transport. We shouldn't be, so dependent on cash. We need to look at how we try and transition ourselves away from cash. And, listening to everybody speak today, it's evident that we've got the technology to do it. It's just making it happen. And Harry, coming back to your question, EMV and bank issued cards. At one stage, a lot of South Africans were not banked. But if you look at it now, we've reached a stage where people are technology savvy. They bank themselves. So these are positive steps that we are taking. And like we also said, it's not that it's not there. The system is there. We just need to look at how we work together to take it to the next steps.
Thank you, Suren. Vuyi, let's hear what you have to say, and then after Vuyi, we can take Moses. Vuyi.
Thank you, Harry. I think we are all singing from the same hymn book, and essentially what it boils down to is that we need an enabling and bold government that can be held accountable. The private sector is ready. All we need is them to enable the private sector to be able to come in and solve some of the programs, and together everyone can hold each other accountable. We are all saying the tools are there. We are all saying in the South African context, the solutions have already been piloted to death. We are running pilot after pilot after pilot, and I think transport specifically over the past decade has basically run on pilots. We've got the BRT, which is still the biggest pilot that the National Department of Transport has advocated for. We need to move from pilot and actually start implementing and then hold each other accountable, because like we are all agreeing, it's the commuter that suffers the most while we are keeping systems that do not work. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilgie. Moses, you can ask your question. Moses Rabotada.
Yeah, thanks, Harry, and thanks to colleagues, and some of them I know, and thanks very much. I just want to ask a question to say, based on, I mean, the presentations that were made were largely on integration, and it's not a new phenomenon. I think integration of the public transport system, we've been singing this song for ages. Now, what I want to know is, from the panelists, I don't know who's going to answer, do you think there is enough communication regarding the issue around integrated public transport to the participants and stakeholders in the public transport system, particularly the minibus taxi industry? Because my experience is that the industry views government with suspicion, and I'm not quite sure whether there is enough communication to drive through the message regarding integrated public transport, the benefits, and take into account the current situation where we're talking about fourth industrial revolution. So I don't know. Maybe the panelists would respond to say, yes, there is enough communication or not, and if not, how do we deal with it? Because among other things, there's a need for a mindset shift. So that will be my question. What is the extent of communication? Do you think there is enough communication up to the lower level of the operators? Thanks.
Thank you, Moses.
And by the way, Harry, my name is, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Moses Rabotata from Ravi Consulting. Thanks.
Thank you, Moses. So the panel can respond. Communication.
I can attempt, I can start. Thank you very much for that question, Moses. And I think the communication is there. It's the method of implementation that is sometimes faulty. I think we've got a good example with the Rustenburg project that Nicoline and Tommy have been involved with. The assumption that the taxi industry is not communicated to well enough is just that. It's an assumption. And oftentimes engaging the taxi industry happens at the wrong level. But if you are talking to an operator who wants efficiency in his business and who can see the merits of integrating or switching to another mode, you will receive a very different reaction from them. I think the communication is there. It's implementation at the wrong level. You cannot want to implement integration with a taxi association that operates at a local level and have the conversation at a national level with the national taxi stakeholders. You have to go down and talk to the guys who actually operate on those routes. We see that with the bus operating companies. Even though the negotiation and getting them to understand what that system looks like can be protracted at times and takes time, that's a great investment, because once they get going, it actually works. So it's fixing that level at which you communicate, in my opinion.
Thank you, Wilgie. Nicoline, you had your hand up, and then we can go to Tommy.
I think I was lost a bit. My connection went down, so I hope I do not repeat with you what you said is. But I think what we also need to recognize is we want to change faster, but it takes time to change a community and our operator. And if we look at that transition process and that, I want to call it skills transfer that we saw in Rustenburg, it takes dedication, it takes time, and you can speak integration, but if you do not explain and you do not keep on repeating, the operator don't change, the commuter don't change, and then government tells you to change. So in all of this, it's not 1 year, it's not 2 years, it is more than that. And I know we've been in 15 years in BRT, but we did not switch a generation yet in that 15 years. So to have a car and to have that access and that mobility still stands in one part. So yes, we want to move faster, and I hope my point comes across, but we also need to acknowledge that society do not change that quick, but we can't stop. So we need to carry on. And if we look at what we achieved in 3 years, talking to industry and community in Rustenburg and in other cities, we're moving forward. So we must not stop, and maybe fast is not the word. It is real transition, real changing people's attitude and how do they travel and how do they want to travel and what do they perceive to be that status around it. And that's not changed in 1 day. That takes time, and it can take a whole generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicoline. Tommy?
Yes, I think most important is the commitment and the willingness. If there's no political and administrative willingness on the municipal level that supports the initiative of having an integrated public transport system, then it's not going to benefit the commuter. The commuter is ready to take that next steps. The taxi industry is ready to go the next mile because they can see the benefits from integrated public transport system. And for me, and I'm always saying, the willingness, if there's no willingness to participate in this process, then it's not going to work. And I think what we experienced in a project like Rustenburg, there is a willingness. And that is why it's helping us to make a success of the project.
Okay, Tommy. Another one from me into the box. And then please take note that at the end of the panel discussion, I'm going to ask closing remarks of each one of you, please. What don't you think, I'm thinking about the road transport management system and the role that playing in the industry in terms of compliance and self-regulation and so on. If we could say what role will standards play, having proper standards and regulation in the industry play to bring in collaboration and to force collaboration? Or is it the split between the industry and the taxi industry that's causing the challenge to regulate and to bring in standards? Or what's the challenge? What shouldn't we bring in something like RTMS into the public transport space to bring in proper standards everybody can adhere to and to start regulation and self-regulation?
Harry, you're bringing in very difficult questions here.
Yeah, I have to admit.
I think it's something that we didn't think about yet. And that is something that we need to relook at, how we engage with them. My personal view is that we need to look at a platform like Salga. Salga is engaging with all the different municipalities. And I just saw the amount of people on this forum this morning sitting with experience that we can contribute to Salga to make sure that everybody's getting the same information. So that will help as well. So I think that is a starting point.
I completely agree with you, Tommy. There are entities which are perfectly positioned to assist in playing that role in coordination and making sure that there are set standards. Something as simple as a community of practice amongst the large metros when they are putting together their integrated transport plans. It's very fragmented, even though there are nuanced differences per metro, but there should be at least some form of standardization. And I think that's also one of the reasons why there is no accountability or anyone to hold metros or even the smaller municipalities to account. So perhaps, Harry, that is something that should be looked at. Yeah.
You for thought. Okay, let's then conclude. It doesn't seem to me there's other. Thank you, Chapang, for the comment there in the chat room from the forum. Let's then take closing remarks from starting at Suren for today. Thank you, Suren.
Thanks, Harry. So, Harry, I think we all, like we said, we all singing from the same hymn sheet. We all have the same view and vision of where we want public transport to be. But just to give you another example of, fragmentation that we talk about, that we need to look at how we improve. It's, we spoke about the provincial, the national, the municipals. In the past couple of months, we had more than 7 tenders that came out for public transport. All tenders had different requirements. And the requirements you could see were not all uniform. So when we talk about standardizing, we also need to look at provincial, national, municipal, and try and standardize what the requirements and where we want to take public transport and start getting that aligned. Once all these alignments are in place, it starts making public transport easier to understand and easier to plan for. Because having this fragmented disconnection and unwillingness to work together, it's very difficult. And I don't want to continue talking too much, but even if you look at, say, for example, Gauteng has 3 different municipalities. You've got Tshwane, you've got Ekurhuleni, you've got Gauteng. In terms of having systems or standardizing in just one province, sometimes becomes difficult. We need to sit down and really look at how we get these provinces to all standardize in terms of where we want the policies to go. And in that way, Harry, I'm sure we'll start seeing progress, much easier to adopt to.
Suren, talking about Gauteng. Yeah, Gauteng, I remember Melissa Whitehead when she was Commissioner of Transport, City of Cape Town. Before that, she was involved with Gauteng and public transport, and she drafted a document for standards for public transport, and it was actually an excellent, substantial document. Maybe one should lay your hands on that document again and bring her in again and have a look at that, what she's done there, and capitalize on that further development. Sorry, Suren, I think you wanted to say something else as well.
No, I think, Harry, we've summarized, most of it for today, but I think the willingness to work together is what's going to be key to take public transport forward. And the last thing is just thank you to you and the Transport Forum team and the speakers and everybody that joined today. Thanks a lot for your participation.
Suren, thank you, Suren. Appreciate it. Wuji.
Thank you very much, Harry. I think the plans need to come out of the boxes or the shelves or wherever they are packed. Like you're saying, there are industry stalwarts who created incredible work that is sitting in shelves somewhere. Those plans need to be pulled out and they need to be implemented. Transport authorities need to start doing what transport authorities are supposed to do. In Gauteng, Suren, there is a transport authority which is supposed to coordinate all the 3 metros. That hasn't happened yet. We need government in the room, specifically National Treasury, when they disperse or deploy funding towards public transportation. It needs to be intentional. We cannot keep on funding pilots and trying out new things instead of fixing the system that we already have. Coordination, collaboration, that is what we're going to see. That is when we are going to see integration. Thank you.
Thank you, Virgie. Very important. Let's take Nicolene. Closing remarks, please, Nicolene.
I think from my side is, yes, standardization is good and all of those good documents are there. There's one thing I think in South Africa, we really need to acknowledge that our metros and our rural cities are totally different. There are different people living in there, and if these guidelines and integration can acknowledge that difference, I think we will be a lot further. And what I specifically refer to is the level of service. If we can provide to the community what they need and what they can afford, that will make a big difference for me in the whole system. That it's not one size fits all, that there is some scenarios, like Buzi said before, and you can work within that. If we have a bit of that room to plan as planners and implementers, that will assist a lot, because forcing on certain standards and regulations is fine, leads to spending where there's maybe no people and the community don't need that. Thanks, Harry, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Nicolene, indeed. Thank you for sharing. Tommy.
I think very important what Nicolene said is light in a black box. We are always open to consult and to talk to people in the industry to help us to put a spotlight in that black box and not only a small light. So everybody is welcome to engage and to also that we can share information. And that is, I think, one of the most important platforms of the Transport Forum, that where can we share capital and intellectual capital. What are we doing wrong? And we would like to talk to everyone. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Very valid comments. Ladies and gents, let's give our panelists a big hand for yet another great event. And definitely we need to follow up on what's been said here today. And we see you guys again soon at the Transport Forum. Thank you, panel, for your great presentations. We really appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you guys again at the Transport Forum. There's an event first coming Monday in Rustenburg in collaboration with Saboa and the Rustenburg municipality. So hopefully we see a lot of you guys there in Rustenburg as well. So thank you very much, guys, and take care. We see you guys.